But I think that goes right back into what I was saying about with the police, the Fraternal Order of Police. Like the Fraternal Order of Police is getting elevated to this ridiculous platform. They're absolutely insane. Like you don't want people selling paraphernalia that represents Black Lives Matter because it insults you. But why should it insult you that people are defending don't want unjust killings to occur? Like the logic that is happening in the spread of this Blue Lives Matter movement, not just in terms of people in the counter protests, but in terms of actual attempts to pass legislation in various municipalities and in some states. We already saw it this passed in Louisiana with some state level Democratic support. It was proposed by a Dem in Pennsylvania. You know, it's being proposed in places like Chicago, which is asinine considering how deep the police abuse is in like Chicago with their black sites and things like that. But I think this goes into the rest of the conversation we're going to have in terms of police brutality as we wind it down. Like, there's so much so wrong, and the narrative that has been allowed, particularly by Democrats, whether it's Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama or whomever. I mean, that town hall, I go back to that town hall all the time. This summer was a great opportunity for Obama to do something great in terms of correcting fallacies and really setting the tone for a conversation. But all he did was double down on false rhetoric and problematic narratives. And Hillary Clinton has done the same exact thing. And this notion that somehow, you know, it's about mutual respect and, you know, people just got to respect law enforcement and this type of stuff doesn't happen. You know, when people are shot and murdered in the back, when people have evidence planted on them, when people, I mean, you can get into conversation about whether or not someone running away means something or not. But oftentimes it's because people know cops aren't trustworthy in certain situations. Now, I personally, with rare exception, have never had really a bad interaction with the police, but that doesn't mean that, you know, other people are not, you know, similarly situated or whatever. Well, that's because I tend to live in integrated or predominantly white neighborhoods where the police really aren't around, right? So that's what I chalk it up to. If I lived in a more heavily concentrated urban area, I'd probably have way more interaction with the police than I have. Besides a few times I've been pulled over.
Well, that's a good point you made. Like the idea that, and it fits into a larger conversation, that the police are trustworthy and they deserve our respect, just like Hillary Clinton and the Democratic Party establishment is trustworthy and they deserve our respect when the evidence doesn't bear that to be true. So yeah, a minority of police officers are involved in what you could consider to be explicitly illicit behavior, i.e. committing, you know, killing unarmed citizens, committing crimes of sexual abuse, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But when quizzed about it, about 2/3 of cops would say that if they saw something, they wouldn't say something.
Right. You know, and that's a problem.
Dialgo for our Spanish-speaking fans, that, or rather, no see, whatever. Not important. The point is this. The point becomes that the ability to demand respect that you do not deserve is built into our white supremacist, patriarchal, blah, 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 blah system. And it's part of a larger entitlement complex that some people are allowed to have and other people are not allowed to have. That you can demand respect, that you can demand to be trusted when you have generally proven yourself to be untrustworthy. And if people do not trust you, if people say, hey, well, I can't trust Hillary Clinton, I can't trust the police, I can't trust Obama, I can't trust the Democratic establishment, the Democratic establishment, these people are allowed to point to you and say, well, you're the one who's being unreasonable because deserving of your respect. Why? Explain to me, despite the fact that you've been proven to be undeserving of respect, why I should respect you, why I should trust you, why you aren't corrupt. And the answer seems to be, well, because our society is a faux meritocracy, and it seems to be a safe space for racism and all these other isms that are bad. Part of that safe space, part of the rules of our society is that you have to pretend as though we deserve your respect, that we've earned your respect, despite evidence to the contrary. Like if you point out the fact that we have done things that are inherently untrustworthy or corrupt, you are breaking the rules. And that's problematic. Like if you point out that Hillary Clinton is inherently untrustworthy, inherently corrupt, that seems to be, that makes you persona non grata. That makes you a person that's rude. If you point out what they've done, that is rude and it is unallowed. And that is so frustrating for me personally, because I'm sure we've been in positions where if we point out to somebody, hey, well, you know what? You did this. I don't trust you. Trust is earned, not given. And you've lost my trust. they adopt the position that, well, for some reason, I'm just allowed inherent trust. But the Fraternal Order of Police Officers is at best a white supremacist group. Let's be honest at this point.
Yeah, Fraternal they're
not a hate group. What did the Southern Poverty also say about this?
It should be. We need to look that up. It should be. They should be, because it's not. They're not just a union, right? I mean, they're a fraternity. They will. I mean, and the worst, I would say, the New York, city police. Their fraternity order of police. I mean, they're probably one of the worst ones in the country with Pat Lynch. I mean, the way they double down on the most dangerous rhetoric. And you would think that as purveyors of justice, allegedly, and those who claim to uphold the public trust and public good, that they would want to see like proper methods in place, that they would want to see corrective action being taken place. But there's something completely different going on, and there is a battle. There is a battle between those who agree that Black Lives Matter. The phrase wouldn't be as catchy if it was Black Lives Matter also. And it's
all lives matter or blue lives matter.
But I mean, and the thing is that no one's saying, no one's saying the blue lives matter thing is just freaking ridiculous, because if someone kills a cop killers go to jail. They go directly to jail if they even make it out of the situation alive. And it's sad. I mean, it's sad when life is lost, period. Right. I'm not so inhuman that I think, that it's okay. But at the same time, let's just be real here. For the numbers are not even proportionate. They're not the same thing at all, right? Because the issue is, one, with the degree of frequency that Black lives are taken, and then two, the fact that there is no punishment for those who take them, or very, very, very rare punishment, right? So
let's talk about blue lives. Let's talk about
what happened.
Oh yeah, okay, but yeah. Yeah, it's about what happened in Texas, but at first, let's talk about Blue Lives Matter for just a quick second. Because when you're talking about Blue Lives Matter, or you're talking about male rights activists, or any sort of like white pride group that thinks it's like, oh, we're just a neutral white pride group. But when it comes to Blue Lives Matter and male rights activism, no, like the problem is not that there is anything inherently dangerous about their message on the surface. So I think we can all agree the lives of cops matter. I think we can all agree that, men should have rights, whatever the hell that means. But the problem is largely in the staging of these groups, and that they are counter movements to other groups. So if you don't understand the problem with Blue Lives Matter or All Lives Matter or male rights activism, it is not their inherent message per se. It is that they are not proactive groups. There is no male rights activist.
They're groups that are pissed that somebody else is trying to get something fixed, that no one's paying them attention, that they already get attention for. Yeah,
this is an entitlement issue, because let's be honest, and I hear this issue talked about all the time when I bring up feminism to like guys who think that they're not male rights activists, but they have what about men who get their children taken away from them, and like it's unfair in like a divorce court, and alimony, or like the fact that there's a gender death gap. I was like, those are great issues to talk about. Why don't you start a petition to get some men's health clinics started? There's one in Manhattan. It's a beautiful place. Why don't you start a petition to have women and infant children change to single parents and infant children? Why don't you do these proactive things as opposed to simply complain about what women are doing or what feminists are doing? And same with Blue Lives Matters or All Lives Matters. Well, why don't you actually come out and seek to change the way we structure police brutality and cases that involve excessive use of force? Why don't you actually be proactive? And the answer is because they're not proactive. They're not groups. They're counter movements, and they're not even counter movements. Because I would argue that feminism and Black Lives Matters are counter movements. They're movements counter to white supremacy, counter to male supremacy or patriarchy. What they are is they're movements in favor of the status quo. They're movements meant to silence progressive movements, because the progressive movements are preaching a solution to a problem, but that problem has largely left honestly, they're just arguing in favor of status quo. Let's put it that way. They're arguing in favor of the hegemony.
So segue, still on the same topic. First, let's get an update on what's going on with the injustice boycott from David, because David has actually been doing the best out of all of us here at Progressive Army in terms of keeping up with the daily emails, and he alerts all of us on what's going on. So we figured David can come in and give just a short update of what's going on.